it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is another Growing in Unity video. This is my my Growing in Unity week. So today I used Whimsy Girl. It is another Angie Blum design, and I love this fall image. It's just beautiful and warm and sweet. It's very cute. So what I did here is I actually didn't stamp in my ink on 3 blackout ink. I used this Memento Rich Cocoa ink here. It is Copic safe, and I wanted a different feel, not so harsh. And with the color palette that I had intended, I figured this would work fine. So I'm just using some 3 color blends here on the pants. These colors seem really far off, but once it is blended together, it just appears to be a rich, warm, like camel brown color for her pants, which I feel is a really good fall color. And the colors that I'm pulling go with the pattern papers that I'm choosing, which are from Scrapping for Less. It's their new paper line. The papers are very similar to what I have seen from the Unity papers, the new Unity papers, where they have that glossy finish. I don't own any of the Unity papers, but I might have to look into some of them because, well, they're gorgeous. So I used some browns, and, well, I guess I wanted her hair to be more like a dusty blonde. And then I used the same colors I did for her pants on her hat. The sweater was some green tones, and then the scarf ends up being blues. I just really like how these colors played with the pattern paper that I picked. And the blue tone is almost identical to the blue tone in the sweater paper that I do end up using. So in this card, I did a few techniques that, well, I haven't used in a while, and I like a challenge like this Unity, Growing in Unity guest design spot. I don't even know what I would call it, but more like an ambassador spot where you show kind of what you can do with the products, and it gets other people, maybe they get ideas from different people, because I know when I look at a stamp set, I see things differently than when somebody else does. And I've heard a lot of stamp designers actually talk about how when they design a stamp, they have a certain, like card front or card design or scrapbook page even in mind. And then they see what other people do with their stamps, and they're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Well, this is kind of Unity's way of beating that cycle of, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Because they have a guest design team, or they have a design team. They themselves are quite crafty. You'll see that Whit and Angie do like lives and all sorts of like crazy crafty things. But this Growing in Unity program that they have going on here, this is really cool for creativity, because like I said, I see things differently than maybe you do. So like I said, I pulled out a few old techniques out of my bag of tricks, one of which is partial die cutting. And I didn't do anything fancy like use my machine to halfway cut using the plates and all that stuff. And I don't know if it's partial die cutting or like die cutting outside the box, or I forget what the actual old school term is for it. But when I did my layout, my original plan, I wanted this Whimsy Girl to be in an oval, because I thought the image would fit nicely in an oval. Well, oval is not a shape that I have a bunch of options on. I have 2 oval sets. Both are Spellbinder sets. Both are older than the majority of my children. And I only bought 1 regular oval set and 1 scalloped oval set, because at the time I couldn't justify buying the large and the small set of dies, because they were expensive. I think they were even more expensive than they are now, and that was a long time ago, so it just felt more expensive, I guess. And I never upgraded or added any ovals. So while my image almost fits in an oval, it doesn't quite. So I did do a little out of the box die cutting. Here I'm just finishing up my coloring. I'm sorry I talked through all that. It was just nothing special. So I did a darker blend with the boots. It's the same blend I used for the pants. I just added more of the dark color so you get a more of a darker tone. And then I did ground the image with some tans here. So this is what I was talking about. You see how she doesn't quite fit in that oval? So what I did is I just trimmed with my scissors around the hat, and I left a little white border, and then I fit the die in so that it would slip behind her head there, so that it wouldn't cut the top of her hat off, and I would still get my oval. Now there isn't much that doesn't fit in that oval, so it's not like a true, I guess, example of this technique. But if you have something that you want to fit in, let's say a rectangle or square, circles and ovals are probably more where you'd have this issue. You can always kind of fussy cut a little bit and see the hat just kind of sticks off of that oval a little. So here with these pattern papers, I had die cut everything off screen, and then I trimmed out all my little pieces here. And I made these so that they would fit inside the scalloped edge, and then I had taped them together so it was just easier to stick everything down. I didn't have to slide anything around or fidget with it. And I decided that I needed a brown layer. I just thought it would be nice. And after I trimmed this brown piece for the back of my card, I was like, I really want a brown oval around my die here. And remember, I don't have a larger die. This is what I have. So I, old school, trimmed it out. You can do that. It's not, you don't need a die. You could have traced an image or a circle or an oval and done it that way. So then I pulled out twine. I hardly ever use twine, and I hardly ever use twine so much never that I pulled off like 800 miles of twine here, which I didn't need. I only needed a little bit, and so I ended up wrapping it around several times. I thought it kind of resembled a sweater, all like knitted there maybe. And then I wanted to pop this oval up, and I already screwed up. I needed to trim this piece of foam tape down so that it didn't, so that my oval fit properly on my background. So here I took care of all that, and then I slipped the rest of the 800 miles of thread or twine underneath, and I was going to tie a bow later. So here is an additional old school technique, something that a lot of people don't do. Now these are red rubber stamps, so it's hard to see through them, so I definitely have this in my MISTI, and I'm using my kind of dry ink pad here so it doesn't juice everything up nice. But instead of cutting this apart or stamping it on a straight line, what I did is masked and selectively inked my sentiment because I wanted it stacked and I wanted it to fit on this cute little tag, because I didn't think that a sentiment strip would fit the design of this card the way that I could see it in my head. And I thought this little tag was super adorable. And it gave me a chance to use that twine and the 800 miles of twine that I had there and tie a bow and tie a little tag on. So here I was just finishing up that sentiment. I did stamp it a couple of times just to make sure that I got a nice image, but I really like how it turned out. It's not perfect, but it is a handmade card, and it just is what it is. So here I started my bow. I wanted to make sure that I could kind of tuck the knot underneath the edge of my oval here. So I did tie the first part before I put that down, and then I wanted to start tying, and then I was like, oh yeah, put the cute tag on. So here I tied a cute little bow with my twine. I fiddled with it just a little bit, but it didn't take too long. Like this, I don't know where this twine is from, but it wasn't the twisty kind of twine that makes the loops all weird all the time. And then I put a piece of foam tape under the tag and adhered that down so it didn't move around, and fiddled with the bow a little bit more. And then I adhered this to my brown cardstock. And I had put a few pieces of score tape over the twine just to make sure that it would stick down there, because that is kind of thick with all that twine. But I think a single wraparound or even a triple wraparound would get lost because not much of it shows. So then added some white pen details here with my number 10 jelly roll, which is my favorite. And I think I pulled out my Spectrum Noir. Yeah, there's all the white pen details here. You can kind of see the shine in the paper. Oh, I did pull out these Trinity stamps, like little, I don't know if they're clay or plastic or what they are, but they're super cute. But if you see, they're not quite the same tone. So what I did here was used my Copic markers to color them. My Copic markers are alcohol based. They'll color pretty much anything. So I put a darker orange down and then added some darker tones around the outside edges. And then I didn't want to leave them blank, so I did dot some dark brown in the centers to kind of make maybe like Black-Eyed Susans, kind of. They don't match the flowers that are in the image, but they match the coloring that's in the image. So then I chose to put them down in this bottom corner here. I thought that that played nicely, balanced the tag out, and then I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in this corner, and I decided to pretend I was Christy Marcotte and put a little banner in the corner. And I like it there. I think it's fine. It's definitely her signature. I see her do it all the time. And just so she knows that I was definitely channeling her. I think it balances the card design out really nicely. So I just adhered that down. And it also brings that blue paper up to the top. So it the blue shows up in 3 places: the image, the bottom, and then that banner, the odd number rule or whatever it is. I don't know. It feels cohesive to me. Anyway, I don't always follow all the rules or know them, but I know what I like, and I do like how this is. So here is my card base. I do usually score them off screen because my giant scoreboard is old. It's very, very old, and it's like stained and funky, so I try to keep that off camera. But I glued that down, and then here is the Spectrum Noir glitter brush pen thing overlay. What is it called? Nouveau Spectrum? No, it's not Nouveau. Spectrum Noir glitter, clear glitter overlay. Whatever. I put it on that pumpkin that she's holding, and then also on the flowers. And then I brought my flashlight out so you could see how beautiful, shiny, and shimmery that is. I just love it. It's so pretty. So that is my card for today. I do love how it turned out. And here is a still shot of the card, and I'd love to know what you have to say, what you think, what you liked most. And if you get a chance, check out Unity's store. They are a small town company, family company, and I absolutely adore their stamps. Also, click the blog link in my description below and leave a comment on the coordinating blog for a chance to win some prizes. As always, give cards generously. Thank you for stopping by. Have a great day. Bye now.